Me? Yeah, Jim. Yes, I am.
Jim.
Yes, Jim.
Yeah,
Informal for
got
sure.
it.
So am I early or late or?
Oh, you're good. We'll just give people a couple more minutes.
All right.
Oops.
I was thinking about recording this myself, but I can't get you on this. It's probably because
We
of Zoom.
No, you're
yeah,
recording, aren't you?
we're recording it, so we can share this with you if you want.
Sure,
That'd be
that'd be
cool.
great.
Are you
Cool.
using any transcript tools or any of
Uh,
those?
well, I was going to use OBS, but
Oh, what's OBS? I haven't used that one.
I know that one.
screen capture, and a lot of people use it for podcasting, and
Hmm,
a
Cool.
lot of it's free, open source. OBS is what
there it
it's.
is. OBS Studio. I
Yeah,
haven't seen this one before.
I haven't played with that before.
but for some reason,
It's
usually
because I think you're not the host, right?
it's hard to
Could
say.
be.
It's usually just my screen, but maybe because of you have control of screen and audio, I
Hmm.
might not be able to use OBS, but that's okay. But if you can share it,
Yeah, I'll make a note.
that is cool. So how's everybody?
Good. How are you? Where are you?
I'm in cold country,
Where?
That covers
North
a lot of places
Dakota.
right now.
Well, yeah, no, that's true. It's beautiful though. I love it because in the winter, I live on a lake, international boundary water lake, right on the Canadian border of North
Hmm,
Dakota, right where Manitoba and
hmm,
Saskatchewan and North Dakota meet. So
That
it
cool.
sounds nice.
gets a little chilly, but
Like how chilly?
Well, yesterday I did a video and sent it out. It was minus 42.
Ooh,
That's chilly.
Which
that's
interestingly is right around where it doesn't matter if you say Fahrenheit or Celsius because they're
Right.
the same at that
Exactly.
temperature.
They're pretty close. They're pretty close to the same at 40 below, I think. So,
Yeah.
and last weekend when we were talking about health and lean meat and stuff, I spent Sunday, it was only 15 below, chasing a buffalo around. We were trying to get them in a trailer,
Mm,
and they weren't a bison, American bison, and they weren't
hmm.
very cooperative. Let's put it that way. Like the rancher said to me, he said, Jim, you can get a bison to go anywhere they want to go.
That's funny.
So, yeah. So, and where are you guys at?
I'm in Austin.
Ah, yeah, I've
Yep.
got good friends down near Austin in
Hmm.
nice.
um, what do I want to say? Llano County by Llano,
Mm,
Texas. Yeah, I was just down for the photograph, which didn't happen,
mm.
the eclipse. That
Oh,
Oh yeah.
that was the last time I was down. It's been a while, but that was last April.
Yep. I was here for that. We went up to Lake Waco. So we got the
Oh,
full like 4 minutes of path of totality. It's you can definitely see why some ancient religions were moved by it. It's like
oh yeah, yeah, pretty startling
it's a weird thing
event.
to experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, even, I got some of it, but it was cloudy out in,
Got it.
so mostly cloudy. It was
Yeah.
still good, you know.
Yeah.
So me and about 40 deer, because the guy's house that I was staying with, he feeds deer, the local. So it was interesting to see them. They were a little weirded out about it too. But
Yeah.
so
Well,
I
cool.
mean,
Well, I think it's probably going to be the two of us. I think we were maybe expecting one more, but we'll see
oh,
if they show up. I think we'll start with just like basic intros. I'll let's maybe go with your name, where you are, and the last book you read. Um,
oh,
although in my case, I'd probably say what I do at Levels. So I'm Sam. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Levels. The
oh,
last book I read was Peopleware, which is a book on managing people and software teams based in
oh.
Austin. Yeah, those are cover the basis for me.
The one I'm reading right now is Return of the God Hypothesis.
Hmm, I know that
huh.
one.
Yeah, Stephen Meyer,
Hmm.
PhD,
Oh wow, this is a popular book.
yeah, by Stephen Meyer. It's
Hmm.
it's the whole thing about creation versus materialism, all that kind of
Hmm.
heavy duty stuff. Young, expanding universe, not, and all of this
Hmm.
physics and astrophysics and DNA, all this stuff. Intelligent
Hmm.
design. So that's what I'm reading now.
That's cool.
That's interesting. I'm in Lake Tahoe. I live in the Nevada side, so
Oh,
like if
Hmm.
it gets to 10, we get cold here because we still get a lot of sunny days. It like dumps a bunch
Hmm.
of snow if we're lucky, many feet, and then it gets sunny again. So yeah, I can't even
yeah.
imagine 40 below. I mean, I've been to Big Sky when it was like 9 degrees.
Hmm.
It was cold. So
Well, yeah, people say, well, how can you do that? And I said, look, it's 74 degrees wherever I'm at. I have a fire.
Yeah, right. On
I
the
have
inside.
I have a stove right next to me on
Right.
my left that it's 77 in here right now because we have a house that with a lot of glass that faces south. So, but I spent a lot of time up by Tahoe. My son lived in Diamond Springs.
Diamond
Mm.
Springs, I don't know where that is. I'm up on the north. Is that in Tahoe? Diamond Springs?
No, it's on the way up. It's California going straight
Ah,
up from Sacramento. So it's probably 40.
on the 50.
Yeah,
On the 50 where the fire was when the fire hit South Lake a few years back.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. So what am I reading? The last book I finished was called How to Stand Up to a Dictator, but I'm reading a couple things now. One is called Horse by Geraldine Brooks, which is like historical fiction. And I've got Outlive that I'm like halfway through. And I have a bunch that I want to read, but those are the two I'm reading right now.
Yeah, yeah, I've got a few over there that are staring at me too. But
Cool.
I'm not a avid reader. I'm kind of a
Mm.
visual person, so I'm always watching video and stuff like that, attending lectures online, especially about all of this
Yeah,
metabolic health. So
for
anyway,
sure. I think on that topic, I'd love to learn a little bit more about your experience so far and what inspired you to get started with levels and
sure.
kind of open-ended.
I've got
Start with
my
you, Jim.
PDN
Yeah,
right here. It's
cool.
right on.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Last June, I get a call. I'm a vet. I'm a disabled vet, but
Hmm.
barely disabled. Okay. So I don't even like calling myself that. So, but the VA called and said, "Hey, Jim, we haven't seen you in a while. Get your butt down here." And I went down there and he said, "When's the last time you had a stress test?" And I went, probably when I was 40, like 35
Mm.
years ago. So I'm 75. So I did the stress test. There was a couple abnormalities, they said, so we went
Hmm.
and before that, I had already, and it wasn't anything serious, it turned out. I have a CAC score. I wound up getting that done at 70, I think is the number. It's not 0, but it's
Hmm.
whatever.
Yeah.
70, which isn't alarming. It can be turned around. But
Right.
before that, I've had this ongoing, it's a little hospital here in the town of Bottineau, about 14 miles south of the Lake Metagoshi. And with these doctors, and I said, they kept saying, "No, you and put you on statin." I said, "I'm not going on statin. The last time I did that, it killed me. I'm not going to do it." And they said, "Well, you have to." I said, "Well, I've been reading, and that total cholesterol doesn't tell you crap, doctor. I'm sorry
Yeah.
to say, but I'd like to have a particle size test, a bigger lipid panel done, and they wouldn't give it to me.
Mm.
They wouldn't let me have that. And since
Yeah.
that time at this little hospital, and VA wouldn't do it either, wouldn't prescribe particle size testing. And so the more I read and about inflammation and all these blood tests, HOMA IR, high reactive C protein,
Hmm.
all this
C-reactive
stuff.
protein. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
None of them would write me up to take that blood test. And you can't
Yeah.
get it around here unless it's frustrating because it almost sounds like I live in a communist country or something, because I should be
Yeah.
able to, this is my own little, I'm sorry about the little rant, but a person
Yeah.
should be able, if they want to know what their health is, and there's a blood test or any kind of test, and if you have the money and you're going to want to go, you should be able to buy any blood test you want. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't get the harm in that, or why that would be that way. So
Just really quick. Oh, Sam, you guys don't test for particle size, right?
I think in our normal metabolic panel, we do ApoB. I don't
You
think
do
we do particle
ApoB.
size.
Yeah,
Yep.
you don't do particle size, but also I don't know if it's
Yep.
available up there in Canada, but if you want to pay out of pocket, there's something called Function Health, and they do like 100 different tests, and
I just did that.
particle size. Yeah.
Mm.
I just
Yeah.
did it. Yeah. And it's, but here's my question. It leads me to a main question for levels.
Yep.
Okay. I signed up with levels and I've been tracking it. And since that last June,
Yep.
I started fasting and going on basically a keto thing. But we raise a garden, and we're really blessed here because my wife loves gardening. It's on virgin soil down on the farm that she was raised close to Botno. And we have a good friend right here 2 miles away that has an organic ranch farm.
Yeah.
They produce, grass-fed, finished organic beef, pork, turkeys, chicken, eggs, and his son we can buy raw milk over there, make kefir and all of it. So, and then south of Minot, that's a ways, it's about 95 miles. There's a place called Guardian Grains that does raise organic wheat, rye, a bunch of stuff, and like emmer wheat and einkorn wheat, or it's not even wheat, it's just emmer and einkorn grass, right? But so we have all the good and so I started that. I said, okay, no more ultra processed, real food. I can get it all here.
Yeah.
Super healthy, low carb, and started fasting. I started a program where I did worked my way into it from June through July, into getting it down to 1 meal a day. And I went on this in September. I went on I said, well, I'll do this because I keep hearing about extended 3-day fast. I'll give it a try. To me, it was plumb crazy because me not eating for 3 days, to me, was like, that's nuts. So
yeah.
So I did that 1 meal a day for 7 days and then a 3-day water fast. And after the first one, I said, that wasn't bad. In fact, I feel pretty, it's like I'm on drugs. I'm kind of, really? I mean, so I said, well, that wasn't bad. So I did that for 4 weeks, 1 meal a day, 3-day fast, 1 meal a day for 7 days, for 40 days. I figure if Christ did it, I could do that, what the heck. So, and then and by the way, I was on metformin. They wanted to put me on statin drugs again. I was on 2 blood pressure medicines. I thought there was 1 or 2 others. Anyway, so because all this stuff was high in the blood test back in early June. So when I went back to see her 3 months later, June, July, August, and it was like September, for some reason, the end of September. So it was almost 4. I was sitting in there and I had lost quite a bit of weight over that, about 20 some pounds. And she came into the office and she was reading my blood test and she looked over and looked at me and she said, what the hell have you been doing, Jim?
Yeah.
I said, why? Everything's normal. Everything's perfect. In fact, it's not just normal. It's, what have you been doing? So I explained it to her.
Yeah.
And that's when I asked her for all these different tests.
Yeah.
And she said, I can't do it. And I said, this is driving me nuts. I don't understand. Yeah. She said, my hands are tied. It's a hospital policy.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. So I said, well, it's sad because you're the closest one. So anyway, I got off all of it. And
that's awesome.
You joined Levels to, because I wanted to know a little more about my glucose levels, which were down and no more metformin, nothing. And I got a continuous glucose monitor because I wanted to see what my reaction was to the types of food I have, because we also do a lot of fermented foods. And some of them that Linda does all that stuff, kefir, sourdough bread, kombucha, and she ferments everything, even beans, all of it, to get rid of lectins. So we've been into it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And it feels great. So back to the blood test thing, I did request through Levels. So this is something you might want to check on. I said, I'd like to do the blood test. And they said, okay, $199. I said, that's fine. But I don't have a LabCorp here. Right. And they said, that's okay. You can have somebody come to your, and I said, I'm out in the toonies, man. I'm really in the toonies. And this person, who was responding to it said, yeah, you're right. We can't get to you either way. And I said, that's okay. Never mind. I'm going on vacation and we're going to go through Phoenix. Why don't you just set me up in Phoenix at a LabCorp in Phoenix?
Yeah.
So I can, and pay the money, and I can do that while I'm down in Phoenix. And they said Levels can't do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird regulatory complications with this stuff. There is some, let's see, it's now February. We're actually pretty close. right now our blood panel is 5 metrics that are, I think, the ones that are like the basics. We
Yeah.
are in progress. We're about to sign a deal with Quest Diagnostics to be able to do over 100 markers for probably half the cost of Function Health.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it'll probably be something like $250. So it's
Yeah.
probably going to come out to something in that range. Um, and you can go to any Quest location anywhere in the country.
Well,
So
see that, yeah. So ultimately, that's what
yeah,
happened. I couldn't get that one from you guys because I wanted to know that was the other test. Well, doc, my doc here, can I at
yeah,
least you check my insulin level? Nope,
yeah.
can't do
They
it.
won't let you do it, which is
Wow.
silly. Yeah.
Do
It's
you have any, do you have any functional medicine doctors near you? Because they tend to be more open to doing that, or maybe a naturopath.
Yeah, no, I did find a functional on this is retroing back to the particle size. And they
Yep.
said, yeah, I can do it because what the local doctor said, well, we can't do that, Jim, because I said, why? And they said, well, insurance won't cover it. And I said, I'll pay for it.
Oh,
Well,
Yeah. Right.
it's really expensive. I said, I don't care. I need to know this stuff. I mean, it's like I'm going around
Yeah.
unarmed, it's not right.
yeah,
And you, as my
Yeah.
doctor, should be interested in these
yeah,
results too, if I'm willing to pay for them.
Yeah.
Fast forwarding, I did find a functional doctor. Believe me, I've learned a lot about blood tests and everything.
Yeah.
Found a local functional doctor, and they did the particle size testing. And when she was drawing the
Yep.
blood, I said, "Well, doc, I should ask, just how expensive is this? I mean, is this going to
Yep.
cost me $1,000 or what is it going to cost me?" And she said, "Oh yeah, sure, $60."
Yeah. Right.
And I thought that sounds like they just lied to me,
Yeah.
And it just happened on the insulin. She said the same thing. Insurance won't cover it, and it's expensive.
Yep.
I said, Doc, I just stopped
It's
at
like $15 for the insulin
your
test.
little
It's not very
lab
much.
here, and
Yeah.
it's nothing.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's really disappointing as far as I've lost a lot of confidence in the healthcare
Yeah.
system.
Yeah. It's really
That's-
unfortunate
yeah,
because, like, I've talked to a lot of doctors, as you can imagine, and they really want to do the right thing. But because of the way that things are coded, because of the way that insurance works in the United States, there are so many hurdles in the way of doctors doing the right thing that
yeah,
a lot of them get pretty disillusioned. And it's, yeah, you just
I
get
know.
trapped.
I know I would. Well, what I
Yeah.
wound up doing for the whole thing, I did pay the
Hmm.
$500 for
Yep.
functional, and I just had it drawn. And when I went through Phoenix, that was,
Yep.
I just got online. That's why I'm saying to you guys, it'd be cool if you could
Yep.
do that. Just go online and go, okay,
Yep.
Minneapolis, Phoenix, wherever,
Yeah.
because we do travel quite a bit, but we are in the Toonie. So, and I'm interested to see the progression. The only test that cardiologist, when I went to see him, and it didn't turn out to be much, was he said, I'll let you have a CAC test. Oh,
Mm.
okay. So I did go down and get that. So, other than that, I've been, now you guys, I signed up so you could use the data from this, because if it could help anybody, that would be wonderful,
Yeah.
But I've learned a lot about, well, food and you name it. Like I just
Yeah.
tried some homemade kombucha that Linda just made to see what kind of a spike it gave me before I ate,
Hmm.
because she does it for quite a while, and it didn't. It
That's
didn't.
awesome.
The 4-ounce
Yeah.
glass. But going back to you guys, if I'd suggest anything, it says blood test would be great if you can get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I think the current timeline is May, but I think we'll probably have something up before then.
That'd
And
be great.
yeah, what's going to be great is that one, we'll be able to do it for a pretty reasonable price. The other is that we're going to be able to connect food logging and other things in the app with your blood results. So, like, one specific example is, let's say your ApoB is high. You can set a goal of, I want to lower my ApoB,
Yes.
and we'll show you what foods likely affect ApoB. And also, when you log food, we can show you, hey, in that meal that you had, these things probably make your score better. These things are probably going to make it worse. And here's how you can improve. Because
That
there's a
would be
lot of,
awesome.
yeah, there's a lot of bad information. Like, I actually have a friend, I was talking to him recently about this. Got some blood work done. His ApoB is high. And his immediate response is, I guess I need to stop eating eggs.
Right.
Like, we've known for at least 20 years that that's completely unrelated to cholesterol, but because that was the thing we all believed 20 years ago, it's still stuck in people's heads. But that sort of dietary cholesterol has very little impact, if anything, on
Right.
ApoB. So just getting more up-to-date science on a lot of stuff. I don't know if you've checked out our blog, but we have a lot of really good content on there, especially the levels guides. They
Yeah, I should
pretty
get out
deeply
there.
researched.
I should get out there more often because Mine was high, ApoB on that levels
Yep.
was high, and a C-reactive protein. A few of those heart ones were out of range, and so I want to take action to get those in.
Yeah.
And even to reverse whatever little calcium score I had, that 75
Mm-hmm.
unchanged, or actually have it go down. So,
Yep.
so that'd be great. I look forward to you guys doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really cool because I am curious what you learned about your particle size and if it was helpful. But anyway, yeah. So I do have Function Health, and they give you a lot of actionable recommendations, and then they give you like top 5 on supplements and all of this, but it was a lot to digest. And I still have been, I did the test like around Thanksgiving, and I've still been like, I really need to sit down and like look at it all together and decide what I want to do about it. Like I definitely started vitamin D after it because I was low, and but I know, for example, like, so for me, I've seen my health journey's been a long one, but I have worked with functional medicine doctors and stuff over the years. I have one chronic thing. I have Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune thyroid thing. So I've been experimenting with my diet and with functional medicine people. I've seen nutritionists for a very long time. And then there's also cardiovascular risk in my family. Like I don't have it, but my dad had cardiovascular issues at a very young age. He had a quadruple bypass, managing it, but also 2 of my grandfathers died of cardio stuff. So, and now that I'm getting older and after menopause, like my risk goes up, right?
Yep. Yep.
So, and so for me, why I joined, I'm just like personalized medicine and what health tech can do. I'm super curious about. I think it's going to be fascinating what happens in the next couple of years. So for me, it's just more curiosity, like what else can I optimize, right? I do a lot to try to focus on, diet and exercise and sleep. So I'm experimenting with a bunch of stuff. So I got Function Health because I was curious about that. I have an Aura Ring, I have a Whoop Band, and Levels was one of the other things I was super curious about. But I don't want to wear CGM all the time necessarily. I want to be one of those people that experiments with it here and there. So when I first signed up, I signed up on Black Friday because I got a deal, but I didn't have my CGM yet. And I didn't really start with the CGM right away. So one of the things that I noticed right away is like, I started entering meals a little, but it was hard for me to understand the value you could provide for me in the times in between the CGMs. And one of the hardest things is logging your meals. Like I get it, you're about metabolic health and the CGMs, but like I would like something, and I'm not sure how many of the members are like me, but I'm spending a lot of money on a bunch of experiments, and I don't feel like a CGM's an all the time one. But in the beginning, I was like, okay, I'll try logging a couple meals, I'll try logging it different ways, and it was interesting, but it wasn't like earth-shattering for me to want to keep doing that until I wore the CGM. And then I got the Stello CGM. And then I read that I'm an Android user and that Stello didn't work with Android 15. So I held off doing that for a while. And I finally, like New Year, I'm like, I'm just going to do it anyway. So I like the way you guys do the scoring with the meals. That was pretty cool. But now I'm not on the CGM again. And I find myself not going to the app. So for me, it's like in the periods where I'm not using the CGM, that's something that I'm like, I'm not sure what is Levels going to help with. The other thing that I've noticed, and we all know this, but like the logging the food, there's benefit to doing it. It's really a pain in the ass, right? So I tried the picture thing, I tried the voice thing, and I like the barcode scanner thing. I was also curious if you could do like take a picture of a recipe and then just be like, I had one serving of a recipe. That would maybe be kind of cool because sometimes I cook something and I'm like, I just don't feel like entering everything. But when I do, it's really valuable.
Yeah, I think we just added recipe logging as a feature within the last few weeks.
That'd be good because
I didn't even really see that. So I'll have to play with
let me check.
But the other thing is like, I don't know, is anybody in the world like doing something that can just automatically do it for you, like something in your mouth or something in your stomach? Like I've said this for years. I would love if somebody could plant a little microchip or something with nanotech that just like analyzes it, because you're always going to get it off. And even if you're really motivated to do it, like for me, there's not a ton of urgency because I think I eat pretty healthy already, but like, I would love it if, I don't know who's on the cutting edge with that. You probably know more than I do, but if there's something that just makes it effortless, that would be awesome because people are just not good at doing that.
For sure.
I'm pretty amazed. I said, in fact, we were over in, I have relatives in Hawaii, Filipino, and so I was there. And so when we went to visit them in January for a couple of weeks, this is a whole different, there are no listings at any for what we ate. But I had mentioned to him that, I'm pretty much, I don't do a bunch of carbs and all the rest of it. But I was amazed because I used that photo thing for several things. Like there was a lamb stew with carrots and some other stuff. And I took a picture of it and it came back with lamb stew.
Yeah.
Well, and
sometimes it could really be surprising, right?
Yeah, like how the heck did it know it was lamb and it wasn't pork or
that's interesting.
whatever? So I've had pretty good luck with the photos. Some of them miss a few things, but you can go ahead and add them. And I don't mind logging that, because now since June I'm down 74 pounds. So
wow,
holy cow!
Congratulations, that's amazing.
Yeah, well, and it was easy, you see, because I didn't have the carbohydrate issue. I mean, I was always kind of a meat guy, I mean, sure, I ate too much sugar. If I went to grandma's house and she had caramel rolls, I'd have them, So it wasn't too bad for me, and that was a big thing. But it was pretty much, I either had to do it or my time on this earth would be severely limited. So it's like a no-brainer in a sense. But so before that, Linda and I had tried a lot of different ways to lose weight, and we were into the Weight Watchers for a while, having to log all the meals. And this seems easier than that whole point weird stuff that goes on. I log them as close as I can just to get a pretty good feel for the sugars, carbohydrates, the protein and stuff like that, just say, okay, I'm on the right track. Yeah. And it's not about losing weight. It was never about, in fact, people say, well, what kind of diet are you on? And I said, I don't like that term. I'm not on a diet. I've just changed what I eat, and I'm just eating real good quality food. I don't limit my calories. When I was on one meal a day, I'd sit down and eat 2,200 calories in one meal. Protein and the likes. And I told people that. So I said, it's not about losing weight. It's about gaining health back,
Sure.
And that process of doing that happens to have a side effect. And the side effect is losing weight.
For sure.
So, but no, it's all worked out well. And to tell you the truth, even like $500 when you think about it, and people say, well, boy, that sounds like a lot of work. I said, no, it isn't. It must take a lot of time. And I said, okay, I'm 75. You know how many friends and people at my age that I know spend probably on average at doctor's offices for appointments and to the pharmacist, they spend 10 to 20 hours a week, doing this or going
what better is there to spend your money on? There's a lot of stuff I don't care about spending on, but and unfortunately, I guess if you haven't had a health crisis in your life, you don't know, but I have had. Mine were more mental health related, but it's probably related to my Hashimoto's. That's why I started to dive in more than 10 years ago. But if you've had a crisis and you don't have your health, you can't enjoy your life. And so I don't understand why you wouldn't want to eliminate spending on other stuff to spend on your health, but it's not really the culture we live in. I do have some other thoughts on function health if you want to, but also some other ideas for you. One of the things that I want to use levels for is to experiment with different things and see what they do. And the scoring of the meals is kind of helpful, but maybe, I don't know, could you do something that helps you set up an experiment and tells you how many times to repeat it, or suggest experiments based on some of the content you have, maybe suggest an experiment and then help me understand the impact of the experiment. Because I don't even know, if I have a smoothie and I eat the same smoothie 2 days in a row, I could try adding in protein powder, see if that's better. But do I have to do it for 2 or 3 days to get a valid experiment? I don't really know. So encouraging also for me particularly and my issues, what experiments I might want to try. If I make chia pudding and I do coconut milk, should I do almond milk instead, or macadamia? And I'm a little bit overwhelmed with knowing what to experiment on, and also to analyze the results without, if I did my own experiment, I'd have to look meal to meal to meal, and I don't
you have to manually
what's significant enough to be meaningful. So helping me with the experiments that I want to run would be really, really cool.
It's a really interesting idea, and you're definitely a power user. I can tell from that use case.
Well, I used to work in tech, and I used to be a product manager, so I'm super about this stuff.
We used to have a section in the app called challenges.
Oh.
which there were like 10 different things that we would do, which is like have a smoothie with these ingredients and then do the exact same smoothie, but add like 2 tablespoons of chia seeds to get fiber and see if that impacts your results.
Yeah.
And like inevitably, lots of people would see a difference. The one that we did actually, I think we ended up doing a blog post on this. They got a lot of people doing it. Was called it the Coke Challenge, which was drink a can of soda
Oh, right.
and just stay seated, don't move for 2 hours. And then a few days later, drink a can of soda and go for a walk afterwards. And almost everybody could see a difference. Like 90% of people saw like a 30% reduction in glucose spike from going on a walk. And the lesson there is like almost all of the cells in your body, especially your muscles are your biggest glucose sink. When your muscles are working, you can absorb glucose better. So this is why, a post meal walk is often really effective for people.
Yeah, I saw that. I was playing with that.
Yep.
And the Stello told me that too. And
Yep.
that was interesting to me because I think I like do activity in bursts, like big things like go on a long hike or go on an hour swim, and then I sit and I'm like, oh yeah, that's not so good for me. So I did learn that when I was using levels. But the more personalized, the better. Are you still doing those challenges and I just haven't been paying attention, or?
We had them, we removed them. We still have them somewhere. I'm sure I could find them for you, but we removed them because only like 1% of people use them.
Oh, really?
So it was just, it was like the super power users really liked it and other people just found it really confusing. So I think there is definitely space for that though, because they're
personalized, particularly once you do the blood results, if you could
Sure.
do it personalized mixed in with the blood results. So function health is really helpful on some level, but like, so for me, my ApoB was a little bit high. I had it done by a functional health person a while ago and it wasn't high. I don't really think I've changed that much. My LDL and my cholesterol a little high, but my triglycerides are good and my HDL is good. So like they do give you a picture of that kind of, but I know like I think I should be taking omega-3s, but I don't know which brand and how much, and then I get overwhelmed because I want to research it in detail. But like I really like what you were saying about based on, because I was going to ask you if you could integrate with Function Health, but you're doing your own, which is fine. I could switch. But like based on all of that, what should I experiment with? What should I try that could maybe make a difference? Like pulling it all together is kind of confusing and hard to do and overwhelming, even if you're a power user who likes to dig in a lot. Like I'm not working right now, so I have a ton of time, but like life, so so that would be really interesting. It's like for you, our hypothesis about why you're ApoB, is it diet? Is it something else? The other thing I was hoping levels would help with, but I'm not sure if you guys do or would. So now that I'm playing with these other devices like the Whoop and the Oura Ring, like the Whoop really pushes me on strain, but I kind of want to know, like when I go swimming, should I be eating, like what should I be eating right after the meal? Should I be eating right before the meal? I experiment with like intermittent fasting and these kinds of things. Like I kind of would like insights out of what data is already there saying like when you swim, this is what we notice about your glucose, or like, I don't know if you're doing that. So admittedly, I haven't spent a lot of time digging around as much as I'd like. So maybe it's there and I haven't paid attention, but
I think it's probably not there to the depth that you would want it to be, but I think that it will get there pretty soon. We have several people on our team now who are fully ramped up on all of the new AI technology that's available. And the feedback that we're seeing from the insights being generated is really positive. And what's really interesting, this is maybe a little bit in the weeds, but you can feed all of your history. So first, there's really 2 layers to this. First is the Levels blog is a rich source of material on like the cutting edge science of metabolic health. Our editorial director, Mike Haney, was the editor at Popular Science magazine for like 15 years. And now he's leading editorial for us. He's been with us for 4 years. So we have almost 1,000 pieces of content that are deeply researched. You take all of the goals and recommendations and you filter it through that lens to focus in on what's current instead of just general. You've all gotten this sort of like general information it's not only not personalized, it's also like 20 years out of date. So that's the first filter. The second is a caching layer that is actually your personal data. All the interactions that we've had with you, insights that you've received, all of your activity, the foods that you've logged, your preferences, things like that. We can filter through that layer as well to not only give you the most up-to-date information, but also information that's specifically related to your health, your actions. Like if you were to tell us at any point, like when we recommend different foods, you could say like, I don't really like to eat fish. And we'll have that stored and we'll just remember that. so that whenever
I love
recommendations are given, we can keep that in context. So that's all in flight. John, one of our engineers, is working on that right now. Murillo, we have like 4 or 5 other engineers that are building that kind of technology right now. So yeah,
Well,
that's coming
if you want
together
people
really
to help
well.
data, if you want people to help
Oh yeah,
data,
cool.
I have a suggestion, a question, and a curiosity, and this could go to Mike, your editorial guy.
Yeah.
And back to you and California or Nevada. You said you
Yeah.
had Hashimoto's, right? Well,
yes.
I have a good friend that has that same thing, and she I know very little about it, but yeah, it's kind of an emotional ride, I guess. You know, as far as interfering with emotions, I don't know, you know, but
I did have a history of depression and anxiety, and I probably the Hashimoto's was related. I can't prove that scientifically, but yeah, it's often a common thing that if your thyroid levels are off, it has an impact on mood. Yeah.
well, you know, on this, you have a lot of input from you know, a lot of PhD type people, but I told everybody what I am. I'm a walking guinea pig. In other words, there's so much stuff on the internet. You know, one says, okay, you know, go for lean meat, you know, that's this way, or and then there's still people that are saying, well, you should have some grain. I mean, so there's a lot of. So I said, look, I'm just going to look at it from a common sense point of view, what makes sense to me, and go ahead and do it. So when you were talking about articles and from all of these people, I think we're guinea pigs out here, and we try something and it worked. For instance, I read an article on L. reuteri. Okay, there's a lot of stuff out there about that bacteria, the missing love bacteria, and they say it's really good for thyroid issues and those emotional type things, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, yeah, because we do a lot of fermenting. So it's there's a Dr. Davis and other people. It's all over the L. reuteri, and it's just a species of microorganisms in your gut that are totally wiped out, or I think only 0.5% of the people have it. Well,
I did
anyway,
a blood test once. I'll have to see if I had it.
oh yeah, well, so what my suggestion back is kind of like a guest writer, or to share something that worked back to levels that if your editor looks at it and he goes, yeah, this would be good. Like, for instance, I have a good friend that had that. I made the reuteri yogurt, and she started taking it, and it was amazing. And this is what happened. This is the results, blah, blah, blah. Or I had a friend that was having a hard time with carbohydrates, and they tried this, and it was a work. Like success stories or success and failure type of things that we could give back to you to share with people that might be struggling with, you know what I mean, that you could share with the levels people out there.
Well, and to tie it back to the whole metabolic health thing, like I do think it's interesting. There are people out there now that are saying that they think like depression is a metabolic issue in the brain. Like there's that guy who wrote the
For
book,
sure.
Brain, Christopher something at Harvard.
Chris Palmer. There's Chris Palmer.
Yeah.
There's Lisa Feldman Barrett is another really smart researcher on this topic. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, I've managed my mental health with diet and exercise and all of those things. And it's hard to tell scientifically what the difference, but I've been healthy and good for more than 10 years by managing those things. And I think they make a huge difference, but there's always more you can do, right? There's always more you can do.
So that's what I was saying. Levels could have a success stories, or, you know, some article written by one of the levels members.
But I do think it's going to be really cool once you go to the blood health thing, combined with maybe asking people what are the things they're focused on doing, and then to start to recommend personalized things that you could do or little tweaks. That sounds really awesome.
Yeah,
so,
cool.
Excited
Well,
about
I just made a note for Lynette. I think Lynette on our team will probably reach out, Laura, for when we're ready to beta test some of those, which will be sometime hopefully in the next few weeks.
Okay, awesome. And I am going to go through another experiment of wearing my CGM, but I kind of want to set up first, like, what do I want to experiment with, you know? And so that I can see, because I want to get the most out of it. Because anyway. Oh, the other thing, 2 minor things. Like I got the Stello on my own because it's cheaper. I don't know if you're going to start selling the Stello, but for for a while when I was wearing the Stello, it kept telling me to buy a sensor, and it was annoying me. It's like, you're getting the data, you know I'm buying a sensor, stop telling me to buy a sensor. And the other thing is, I don't have it. Hydration is a thing for me, and I wanted to do the habit loop, but I'm on Android, and I don't think I don't have a way of getting my water data into levels. Because I don't think there's Google Fit, but now it's moving to Fitbit. I tried tracking it in there, but I don't think through Health Connect it was getting into levels, and you guys don't have a way to track it yourself. So I'm sure, again, I'm not a normal person. Like, I'm the 1%, so you're not going to
Did
design.
you say this was for water intake?
Yeah, hydration. I tried entering it in food, but I didn't know if you counted it as hydration, but I'm really bad at hydrating. So, and I kind of curious if electrolytes matter or not, but I would benefit from tracking my hydration, but I don't think there's a way for me as an Android user to get that into levels. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, we have 2 engineers on our team are reviewing the state of hydration logging March 3rd. So I'm going to make a note.
I didn't dig deep, but I did try putting it into, I think,
Yeah.
I don't think that from the Fitbit app, it gets into levels. I don't think from my Whoop or my Aura, it could get into levels, because levels doesn't have a hydration feature yourselves, right? I didn't think so.
We definitely have some way of doing it. So I just tagged a couple people on our team to watch this recording.
Thanks.
And hopefully they'll figure that out and reach back out to you on that.
It might be that if I add it, I didn't know if it would work, and I've been busy, but maybe I can add it in the meals and it'll track it. I don't know.
I don't know either. I'd have to check. Yeah.
What you just said about, interfacing, I have a Garmin.
Yeah, right.
So for exercise, interfacing with the Garmin stuff. In fact, my daughter-in-law works for Garmin down in Phoenix, and she gave me this one, but it's kind of nice because you don't have to think about it. It would just, it's a Bluetooth, the whole thing, and it would interface and say, oh, well, he's been out, 10,000 steps, or he ran whatever, and it's all, so it's a device that's available. So those would be good, and the rest of it. So
I think you can integrate depending. Are you an iPhone user or an Android user?
iPhone. I'm an Apple guy all the way.
Like, I was able to get my exercise data in through the Google
Health Kit
thing. So whatever the Apple Health Connect thing, you probably have to set it up to give it permission, but you probably can get it in. But then once it's in, I'm like, okay, well, how's it tying into my recommendation? I think you guys have some work to do. When you do the AI thing, one thing that my Whoop band has that I like, it has a button I can push for daily outlook, and it'll tell me, like, maybe you want to try these things today. It's actually pretty cool. I like that.
We have that spec. Yeah.
And I also like both Whoop and Aura are now experimenting with like a chat coach that you can ask questions. I don't know if Levels has that yet, but that's kind of cool. I don't know. Yeah, those are some things I've played with that I found useful.
Cool.
Well, thank you for the time.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pleasure. I've got like 10 action items here, so this was helpful.
Awesome.
And this was good too. I don't know how often you're going to do it, but it's worth having a conversation with other users, and you run the company or whatever. It's whoever you can get on, even somebody that's knowledgeable about some specific subjects that they're interested in or struggling with. So it's great.
Sure. Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for making the time, and I have a bunch of follow-ups here. So
we kept you busy. 2 people kept you pretty busy, man.
All right.
Bye.
Cheers. Have a good one.